When entering a conversation in the past, we may never have considered how other people perceive us and who we are to others. So in this short conversation with Dusty, this is something we're going to explore. Straight over to you, Dusty. First question, what does that mean? Who am I to others?
So we'll often enter into a situation where people will have a perception of our expertise, our knowledge and our skills.
Yeah.
And so think about when we're developing others, there is a level of expectation that they will be carrying into the conversation. And so it may be that they've seen on social media that I've been badged as an expert in communication, or they may have come to me to work with me because of my status as a world-class program coach developer.
Yeah.
I need to understand that they're coming with a preconceived idea of what I am and who I am.
Is that something that's easy to understand? Are we always aware of how other people see us and who we are to other people?
I think when we first go into a situation and we're less experienced in the space, there can be a tendency for us to compensate, to give information over freely very, very quickly in order to give us confidence to gain credibility with the individual.
Okay. Do you think when we've got roles and titles, that creates a view of who we are as well?
Absolutely. So there'll be a shared understanding of who we are to each other, and you have a perception of me. And there'll be stuff that I know about myself that you don't know.
Yeah.
And there'll be stuff that I don't know about myself that you know.
Yeah.
This all sounds a little bit crazy, but in a sense, we know who we are to ourselves.
Yeah.
We know how we're perceived by others.
Yeah.
And it's really helpful to pay attention to some of that.
Do we know how others perceive us, or do we just assume that we know how others perceive us?
That's a great question. I think we assume.
Yeah.
I think we assume. But what I do know and have experienced is there is a level of expectation that comes into the conversation when we're working together with individuals across the development space.
Okay. I'm just going to share a story with you, if I've heard you correctly, about this concept of who we are to others, and then you can go, yeah, that's a great story, it explains it, or you can unpick it and stuff like that. So a number of years ago, I was working with someone on a course that I'd never worked with before, and in my view, I'm approachable, easygoing, really nice person to get on with, things like that. So I arrived on this course with my view of myself, met this person for the first time who was really great, lovely person, but their opening statement was, I'm really nervous. And I said to them, is it the course? Is it the content? Are you unfamiliar with that and everything else? And their reply was, no, I'm really comfortable with all that. It's working with you.
Okay.
At which point, as you can imagine, I've gone from I'm really approachable, nice and everything else going, pardon? What do you mean? Well, it's the fact that I'm working with you. And I was really taken back by that statement, because I never ever thought that someone would go, oh, I'm really worried about working with you. But clearly, this person then said to me, I know that you're very experienced, I know this, but I also know that you've set your high standards and all the rest of it and everything else. And that's what the nervousness was around. And at that point, I never ever considered that there was that viewpoint of me. Is that a good reflection of what you've just been talking about there, Dus?
And in a sense, you've just described an experience where you don't know what you don't know about yourself.
Yeah.
And so you have a sense of who you are.
Yeah.
And there is a great example of not knowing how you're perceived by others.
Yeah.
And my sense is you've reflected on that and thought about what impact does that have on my relationship with others, and what do I need to do to ensure that we arrive into a conversation in the best possible position to help growth and learning in others.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really pivotal moment, as you've just described, and I guess it's something I've taken forward, not just at work but outside of life as well. Have you got any tips that we could take forward around this to give us that opportunity to really consider who we are?
Absolutely, and think about who you are first and foremost. Get really, really comfortable who you are, and then have a think about how am I perceived by others, and be
Yeah.
really deliberate about that.
Yeah.
Being deliberate about how am I going to be perceived, because it is important to how you enter into the conversation.
Yeah.
So I might hear myself in the first instance, if I'm going in to do an assessment of competence,
Yeah.
I might hear myself saying to that coach, it's my job to find the competencies in you, it's your job just to be a coach.
Right. Thanks, Dus. That's really great.
Okay.